morning.
It's nice to see a lot of new faces. Thank you for coming to the EAL Parent Workshop this morning. I am Ms. Castro, and I'm the head of EAL, and I, along with the EAL department, will be presenting to you today. Just so you are aware, this workshop is being recorded. The camera is there. So at the moment, it's pointing this way, but later on, we will get some questions from you, hopefully, and everything that we're sharing here will be available to view later in case you want to revisit it. Also, this slideshow will be available on the parent wakelet, so this will also be there for you.
You have to point it up that way.
Ah, thank you. Yes, this is being recorded. So, if you have any questions during the presentation, we kindly ask that you wait till the end, because there will be time for questions at the end. Okay. The aims of this session today. First, one of the aims is to emphasize the importance of developing the home language. So if you speak another language at home, whether it be Hungarian or Chinese or Russian, we really value developing that home language because that will help your child learn English thereafter. We're going to review what the EAL program at this school consists of. So I imagine your children are in the EAL program. What does that mean? What does it look like? And we also would like to provide you with some resources and ideas for what you can do at home with your child to help them learn English and enjoy learning English. So quick introduction to who we are. I am Haruko Castro. I'm a teacher of EAL and head of the EAL department, and I teach years 1, 2, 4, and 5.
Right, so should I go first? Right. My name is Muadrina, and students call me Mr. Mo. It's easier, less vowels for them. So, and I teach year 2, 3, 5, and 6.
And good morning, everyone. My name is Daniela Fino. Kids call me just Miss Daniela. And I teach year 3, 4, and 5 for the EAL. I also teach MFL, but relevant to this topic, I teach EAL for these 3 years.
So, the EAL program, what does it look like here at Britannica? So, we EAL teachers, we work with children in the EAL program during pull-out sessions, where we have smaller group language lessons with children in EAL. But we also teach children and support children in push-in lessons. This is where we enter the mainstream classroom and co-teach lessons with the class teacher. How pull-out sessions look, it differs between some of the year groups. So in years 1 through 4, pull-out lessons happen at the same time as English literacy lessons. So while the mainstream classroom is having their English literacy lesson, we EAL teachers come and take the children in EAL and have our smaller group lessons there. And in years 5 and 6, it's a little different. The pull-out sessions happen during MFL and Hungarian lessons. So, while the mainstream classes are having, while they're having a French lesson or a Spanish lesson, the children in EAL get pulled out for EAL. Also, same with Hungarian lessons. During Hungarian lessons, the children in EAL get pulled out for English lessons. This is so that children in years 5 and 6, the older years, this is so that they get more exposure to English and also to help prepare them for secondary, because after year 6, it's year 7.
Alright, so now we'll dive a bit deeper to what pull-out lessons look like. So pull-out lessons, I want you to look at them as small EAL groups, well, kids, the EAL kids, are pulled out to join me and the other EAL teachers. So in these lessons, we basically work on key vocabulary, grammar, other language aspects that really connects to what's happening in their mainstream classes. And the goal is to fully equip them, the EAL kids, with the tools needed to fully participate and understand when they join eventually their classmates in their mainstream classes. And we'll try as much as we can to mirror and support basically what's being taught in the mainstream class. But as Ms. Castro mentioned, some pull-outs differ according to classes basically and year groups. Right, the pushings are a bit different because this time we go and join our EAL kids in their respective mainstream classes. And we're not there as teacher assistants, but rather as co-teachers, so we really work side to side with the other mainstream teacher. So we provide a variety of supports, so that ranges from scaffolded explanation of vocabulary, grammar. We try to support with group work, and actually, while pushing really targets EAL kids, other kids also benefits from extra support. So pushing is there for all students to help them and support them basically. So here, as you can see, we provide extra explanation for all the other kids in the class. And we try also to work and prepare them to follow along with their fellows or classmates in the class.
So when we talk about some factors that affect language learning, especially in EAL, there are so many things going on. The learning of language is not only the language itself. Okay, let's learn, and nothing from the learner affected, that does not happen. There are different factors such as attitude and personality, as in any lesson. For example, when we talk about attitude, is how the student sees himself or herself while learning. If they feel they're capable, or they rather feel, I cannot do this. So we can possibly have these two attitudes. Oh no, I give up. This is not for me. I cannot do this. Or we can have, yeah, I know I can do this. I have the help. I'm motivated. And this will for sure affect their motivation in the lesson and the outcome of the lesson. Of course, we try to target both of these attitudes in the lesson and keep the lessons engaged and enjoyable. So we keep this engagement very high. Of course, personality will also affect. We have confident learners, those that, even though they make some mistakes, they do not pay attention to them, they will just continue and say, okay, this was made for me. We have the shy learner, and this can affect fluency, for example, because they would rather be called by name in order to participate instead of just voluntarily talk. We also have the perfectionist, so this has an advantage. Their outcome is high quality, but they do not want to make mistakes, so they are afraid of maybe reading if they don't know this phoneme. They would rather avoid having a conversation in a topic that they do not know well, they do not master, just for avoiding the mistake. In EAL, we try to keep in mind all of these variety of personalities we have, so we boost the shy learner, we encourage them to talk. With the perfectionist, we promote the idea of making mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes, even when we write on the board. We also make mistakes if we do not go wrong or erase it. We will just correct it on top. It's okay to make mistakes. With the confident learner, of course, we continue promoting this confidence and make sure that that will not hinder their progress anyhow in the quality of the language. Motivation. So, as I mentioned, it's important to have kids motivated not only in school but also at home. So if you have been thinking, how can you support the kids at home? It's not necessary to have language tutoring at home for the kids to succeed. That's not something that we encourage or that we say, oh, it's absolutely mandatory. Actually, if you're thinking about a way to support, it could be something natural, something like play dates with friends who speak different languages. Of course, it's easy just to take the kids to the community of the language you speak. And I'm sure that's also helpful to motivate and keep them engaged with their home language. We will be using home language a lot, or the language that you speak at home. But having this natural and more motivating and just fun way to learn will help them even better. So if we talk about the home language, any language that you speak at home, we use this because maybe a father can speak one language, the mother can speak another, or maybe grandparents will speak another. So when you decide which is the language that you speak the most at home, the structure of your language can also affect how easy, how quick they learn English. We have languages that are similar because of the Germanic roots or Latin roots that English also has, so of course they will be more likely to succeed or just faster. But we have languages that have different writing system as Chinese, so it means that they are not only learning to speak the language, but also a different alphabet to write it. Of course, we cover all of these in EAL to try to help them regardless of the language. And well, each language has the linguistic features that will affect also how they learn. But, yeah, well. Next. Okay, so we have talked a lot, so now we would like to have you talk a little bit, then question time. I will read this statement and I would like, or we would like you to talk to the person next to you or whoever you're comfortable with and think about, is it true or not? Is it false, or how do you personally do it? Then our first statement is parents should only speak English at home so their child can acquire English much faster. I will read it again. Parents should only speak English at home so their child can acquire English much faster. Okay.
I encourage you to turn to someone you haven't spoken to before and discuss this. We'll give you about 30 seconds to see what you think.
You may need to move.
Shall we reveal the answer in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So let's see. Then the answer is no. Please continue to develop your child's mother tongue, your child's home language, because this will help them acquire English. So some parents are worried, oh, I don't speak English, I don't have a C2 level, I cannot help. No, that's not true. You can help in so many other ways, which implies practicing a lot of mother tongue. Keep talking to them in your mother, in the home language, because that's the foundation for a second language. When kids have this stronger foundation in their language, they easily acquire concepts, definitions, they understand the structure of a language, they understand every language has a structure, it has rules. So anything that you work with them on the home language will absolutely help and affect how they learn English. All right, second statement, so then we'll give you again time to talk to each other. Younger learners are more effective English language learners than older learners. Younger, older. Then, oh, please. If you say yes, why do you say Okay, I said the answer was yeah.
Yeah.
No further discussion.
Definitively yes.
Okay, let's see. Well, the answer is no. So there is a lot of foundation in linguistic studies and research in this. What happens is that younger learners may develop better pronunciation, and that's why the younger you are, the more native-like your pronunciation is, because your speaking apparatus has not set in one position only, so you diversify your tongue better, you know where to move your tongue, how to move your mouth, how to use the air in your lungs. Then younger learners are more prompted to develop a very native-like pronunciation. However, as I mentioned earlier, they do not have this concept of language, they don't have this rule, they do not have this pattern yet, which means they will find it very hard to understand how the language works, which is the contrary with older learners. Older learners have a better understanding of grammatical structures. They can easily understand, oh, this is how it works. There is a pattern. Oh, this is how it works in negative. This is how it works in interrogative. And they will find it easier. Then, let's say each population has advantages. That does not mean for younger learners it's impossible to learn. Does not mean for older it's impossible to learn. They both have advantages, and we just take the best out of that.
Can I just add something further to that point about younger learners acquiring pronunciation more effectively? Because their pronunciation sounds so much closer to native-like, that's why it seems like they learned the language much more effectively. It sounds like they do, but if you listen closely, the actual language they use might not match. However, with older learners, because the pronunciation of their home language has been formed in their mouths, they might not sound as good. I'm not saying it's good, but sound as native-like. But if you listen closely to an older language learner and they have been learning and studying, you listen and think, oh, what they're actually saying is quite effective and perhaps more complex than the one who sounds better. So those are two different possibilities of how two different language learners of different ages might learn. But as Ms. Daniela said, each of these learners can work towards building that area where they're weaker in.
So now for a relatively challenging one. It's a bit longer. So language learning is a development process that takes time. Students need input that they can understand in all subject areas, not just learning English. So what do we think is the answer to this? Is it a yes or no? Should we review?
Okay.
All right, the first yes of the day. So I want you to think of language learning as riding a bike or learning to walk. It takes time, and it happens through phases. So learning English doesn't happen overnight, and students, they learn English through phases. And while some of them can be faster, they can acquire language earlier than others can be a bit behind, but that's completely normal, because everyone learns at their pace, basically. So, but does that mean that we should basically hinder them from learning English or getting input from other subjects and just focus on English? They can learn English or get language that they understand and they can use from all other subjects, maths, etc., etc. So basically this is what we mean here. So yeah, every learner learn at their respective pace, and they should also basically try to get comprehensible input from all subject material.
Okay, next question. Once students speak with reasonable fluency, they can pick up academic language quickly. So in other words, once students are able to have conversations, everyday conversations, then they can pick up the language for school or for academic subjects easily as well. What do you think? I'll give you 10 long seconds to discuss with your partners. The answer is no. Okay, so social language, which is referred to as BICS, or basic interpersonal communication skills. This is generally acquired within 2 years of immersion. So immersion being when the learner is in the context of that new language. That's social language. Academic language, sometimes referred to as CALPS, or cognitive academic language proficiency skills, that takes longer. That takes 5 to 7 years or longer on average. So this means that just because a language learner can tell you what they had for lunch, or what happened at the playground, or they can tell you what they want in the shop, maybe with very emphatic language, just because they can do that doesn't mean that they are at the same level with regard to school language. Talking about science experiments, using formal language in writing, that is a different language skill. So just because a child might, again, seem fluent, maybe with really fantastic pronunciation, they still could use EAL support to bring their language up to the level they need to enter mainstream English lessons. Okay, quiz time is over. I'd like to talk a little bit about phonics. Phonics is the system or the approach that Botanica uses to teaching reading and spelling. And how does this work? So, the basis of phonics is that sounds are matched to letters. So when we teach how to read a word, for example, the word sat, s-at, we don't teach the word and say, remember the spelling. We move back, we first start with the individual sounds. We teach that that letter makes a s sound. That letter makes an a sound, s-at. Next letter makes a t sound. Blend those sounds, sat. So those are the first three sounds, and there are different phases of sounds. So the longer a child learns phonics, the more sounds they will acquire. And this is really helpful for them to decode words. So when a child is reading a word that is at their level, they can identify what the sounds are that match those letters, and that can help them independently read a word. Rather than asking the question, oh, I don't know the spelling, how do you spell it? Well, this enables them to try and have a go at spelling by themselves. So how can we learn phonics? Well, at this school, if your child is in years 1, 2, or 3, they do have phonics lessons Monday through Thursday. So that happens. But also, children's in years 5 and 6, but because phonics is a system that we use throughout the school, in years 5 and 6, phonics rules and phonics strategies are still referred to. All children across years 1 through 6 have access to Reading Eggs. This is an online platform with loads of reading activities. And one section of that is the fast phonics section. If your child is new to phonics, or if they learned English in the past but maybe haven't learned phonics before, I highly encourage you to have your child have a go at fast phonics. The whole system gamifies learning phonics. So there's lots of colors and lights and characters, but also children can earn points and then use them in the shop. It makes it really, really fun. I've watched children do it in the classroom, and they don't want to stop. So hopefully it'll have the same effect with your children, and it really is a fantastic way to receive individualized support for your child's phonics level. It works in that the more they answer, the more the system understands what your child knows and doesn't know. So I encourage you to have a go. Okay, let's move on from phonics and to bells. The bells grading system is a system that we use to assess children's 4 language skills. They're English listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And when you receive your child's reports at the end of each term, you will receive comments from their teachers and grades, but for children who are in the EAL program, you will receive this additional set of grades. And this is how it works. For each skill, for example, listening, the first band is band A. And children who are newer to English, they might receive a grade of band of A 1 or 2. This means they fulfill 1 or 2 criteria within that first band. And then as they learn more, they might move on to A5, A10, and then move on to band B. So the numbers from a newer learner start from A1 to A10, then B1, B2, C1, C10, and so on. So you will receive 4 Bell's grades in your child's report, 1 for each of the skills.
Right, now to reading at home. This is something you can really help with. So first of all, before we go to the steps, a lot of parents in the previous Parents Afternoon event asked us, or basically what they can do at home. And I think many of us suggested reading and systematic reading, not just random reading. So this is what we're going to see here. So first of all, reading in any language is one of the most powerful things you can support your child with, because it helps with their imagination, their vocabulary, their confidence. So we recommend reading in 3 main steps, and we're going to see them now. So the first one is going to be pre-reading. You can go to so what we recommend to do before reading is basically try to show the kids images and try to get them to guess and anticipate what's going to happen in the story. So this is called picture walk, and it gets them ready and confident to actually start reading. Another thing we recommend doing is trying to make connection, draw connection between what your kids know and what the story is about. So let's say the story is about animals. You can ask questions like, do you remember what we did last time we went to the zoo? So this way they can draw connection, they can feel confident and ready to start reading even before they even start. And yeah, we'll also try to identify letters and sounds. So all it just basically falls under the umbrella of making them ready, making them more confident to receive, to see what's going to happen in the story, basically. Right, second one is going to be reading.
So that was before reading. I would also, before reading, I would suggest having the kids remember other stories by the same author, and that helps a lot. Because once they know, oh, I know this author because he has written this other book, and you ask, oh, what do you remember this book? It helps a lot because kids can relate to stories by the same author. And now, during reading, share responsibility, so you can also read, have the kid read one part, or maybe check how focused they are. So you're reading and then you stop, like, oh, I lost the word, what was it? And make sure they know where you are. Kids chime in on predictable parts. So when you're reading, you can start slowing down and stop at a part where you know this outcome or the next word is very predictable, because kids like to know they have control of things and that they know and they see their progress. Pretend to make mistakes, so your child corrects you. I've seen that myself many times. They love correcting whatever you do. So you can be reading and read the word wrongly, or change the name of the character and stop like, oh, what? I forgot the name of the character. And they are focused, I hope, and they will correct immediately. And that shows them that they can monitor the language, and that shows them that, yes, I'm capable of doing this. So it builds also on their confidence. Prompting strategies, which means like trying to get information from the kids while reading. So while reading, try to use fingers as well, or encourage the kid to use the finger in early stages, of course. Later, it won't be that necessary, but it's good to follow and monitor the text. What word would make sense here? Some books actually have gaps, or you simply stop and ask, what word do you think can come here? If you have the language, if you don't, you just ask which word, but other parents might know, is it an adjective, or what can come here, or an emotion, or an object, in more common words. The next can be, what does the word start with, to check a little bit of phonics and consonants, letters, and do you see a word inside a word? Sometimes, I don't know, for example, learn is written, but you can have ear inside learn, because it's E-A-R, or change it a little bit like hopeful, which word do you see? There's a word inside this word, which is hope. That can also help build more awareness of the language and how it looks. No, I think I will also. Okay. And then after reading, so the aim of reading is not finishing the book, close it, put it in the cupboard, and goodbye. Actually, a lot of the knowledge building happens after reading, because you can check what you have read so far, you can check how much they remember, how much can they change of a story. Then, after reading, change the title or ending of the story. That will boost their creativity, imagination. So how would they change the ending of the story? Maybe they like creating chaotic endings. So they like to change characters in which somebody dies, or there is an accident. I've heard that so many times, so maybe that can also improve their imagination. Pick a word and create rhyming words. That's creative, especially for those kids who have more auditory learning, that they like listening and then creating. So if there is the word car, okay, which words rhyme with it? Car, jar, bar, and practice. And since you will speak another language, it's good to have them as your teachers. Oh, I don't know, but you teach me. And they will be very happy to use the knowledge they have acquired in school to teach you something. Identify, draw a picture of your favorite part. Comment, write sentences to describe the picture. They make their own picture of our favorite thing. It's easier for them to even describe something they have made and not something that was in the book. Retell the story using words like first, next, then, final, so they organize and sequence. That helps a lot actually. This is some of the skills we build from year 2 or 1, I don't know. Organize, please, sequence the pictures, sequence the events. And acting. Some of them would like to act. So those are some of the strategies you can use and any knowledge that you can come up with. Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to talk a little bit about developing the home language. We've mentioned this a lot up until now, so I'd like to share with you some ideas of how families can do this at home. But I want to reiterate the point that a solid foundation in the home language leads to a higher chance of success in learning a new language. And some of the benefits of a solid home language foundation include providing a framework for the understanding of new vocabulary and grammar rules. So if a child can say in his or her home language, yesterday I went to the zoo, this child knows how to say yesterday, this child can use the past tense. If they can do that in the home language, there's a higher chance that they can learn to do it in a new language. A foundation in the home language means greater confidence and motivation. So confidence as a communicator, which this confidence can also be translated into confidence in the new language. And if they're confident, that probably means they're more motivated to learn. So this can affect their demeanor in the classroom and in the learning environment. Okay, so how can we do this? How can we develop the home language? Speak with your child in the home language as much as you can, frequently and naturally and regularly. I know that some people, maybe especially when I was growing up, there was an idea that oh my child is learning this language at school. Well, we're going to stop learning our home language. We're going to stop using it and learn and speak only in this new language. We do not advise that at all. As I said, the better foundation in the home language, the more likely they can learn the new language. Maintain regular use of the home language with routines. I mentioned this because I know that sometimes if a child is learning English at school, they might come home and want to speak English. Not all children. Some children like to separate the two worlds. But some children, they speak English at school, in the outer world, and when they come home, they want to keep speaking English. Well, how can we then keep speaking the home language at home? Maybe you can set some time, like specific times. Okay, at dinner time, we speak only Korean. Or, during these last few minutes before bed, we have a full conversation in only Russian. So try to make a set time when you speak in your home language. I speak of this from personal experience. I was a child I grew up in New York. I went to school in New York. I came home and my mother kept trying to speak Japanese to me. And I answered in English. And that's how we communicated. She spoke Japanese, I spoke in English, and then down the line, I lost the Japanese that I had growing up. So I really encourage you to do as best you can to keep speaking the home language at home. Reading books in the home language. We heard so many great ways of reading books at home in English. Those same strategies can be used for books in the home language. And we encourage you to choose, as the child gets older, choose books in the home language that are appropriate for that age. Because reading is really wonderful for learning new grammar structures, for new vocabulary, and as the children get older, their vocabulary would ideally also grow. And movies and games, right? Kids love movies and games. Having it in the home language is another way for them to grow their vocabulary. And again, movies, it's just as valid an art form as books. As children get older, perhaps they can, watch movies that are appropriate for their age as they get older. So, other ways to help at home. Well, I've talked at length about developing the home language. Something else that we can do at home is making mistakes. Ms. Daniela mentioned making mistakes while reading because children love to correct, especially us adults. But we also, at the school, we really normalize making mistakes. Making mistakes is fantastic because it's an opportunity to learn from. So we really encourage children to have the confidence and go for it. If they get it wrong, make that mistake, learn from it, move on, get better in the future. If we do the same thing in front of them at home, it really helps normalize this idea. And especially if you find that your child's English is getting better than yours, well, what a fantastic opportunity to make mistakes in front of them and get them used to the idea that mistakes are okay. So, after-school activities is also a fantastic way for children to practice their English, use it in a normal, natural way, along with play dates with other children, as Ms. Daniela mentioned. We encourage play dates with children who speak a different home language. So if your child speaks Portuguese, maybe they can have a play date with a child whose home language is Hungarian or Chinese, because then they have no choice but to use English together. And both of these ways of using language really help form what we call an intrinsic motivation to speak the language. So the desire to speak comes from inside. There's no one telling them to fix their grammar or anything. It's just they want to communicate with their friends. So these tend to be the most effective ways to get children motivated to learn and use the language. Some resources that we hope will be helpful for the home. The school library. Children here at Britannica visit the school library every week where they get to choose a book of their choosing. And they have freedom to choose whatever they want so that they have the control to choose what they find attractive, but also so that they develop a love for reading and books. They also receive staged readers, which are books made for a specific level. So children's reading levels are monitored by their teachers, and they are given a book in a particular level. It says years 1 through 4 there, but I believe children in years 5 and 6 also receive staged readers if we see that their level is appropriate for a staged reader.
Most of them do.
Most of them?
Yeah.
Okay. Reading Eggs. This is the website or the web platform where I mentioned Fast Phonics. So Fast Phonics is within Reading Eggs, but within Reading Eggs, separate to Fast Phonics, there's a whole other sub-platform of reading games. I'm not going to call them exercises, they're more like games. Again, more colors and games and characters, and also some online books that are appropriate for the level of the user of the platform. And I mentioned the value, we mentioned the value of books, both in English and in the home language. Hopefully you can find, if you don't have books in the home language already, you might be able to find some books in your home language at these bookstores. As I said, this slideshow will be available, so you'll be able to click on these links when you see the slideshow in the Wakelet, Parent Wakelet. Okay, so let's bring this to a close by reviewing some key points. As we mentioned much, development of the home language is essential, so we really encourage you to develop this at home. Reading is key. There are no shortcuts to learning a language, sure, but reading is the closest thing to it. It encompasses so many skills, and it can be the most enjoyable if the love of reading is fostered. And we try to do our best here at school to do that. And we encourage children to interact with the school resources at home. These include the books from the library, the stage readers, and the online resources that I mentioned. We especially encourage engagement with these resources during long stretches away from school, so during the holidays, especially the summer holiday, because I don't know if you've heard the phrase, if you don't use it, you lose it, right? The same is true for language. So hopefully these things can help your child keep using the language even when they're away from school. Okay. We've got a few minutes, so what questions do you have about the EAL program here at school or EAL in general? I will give you 1 or 2 minutes to discuss with each other. Feel free to ask each other. And then we can take questions from you. You can either ask us in person, or if you're shy, feel free to write your question here on a piece of paper. Okay, yeah, thanks. We'll come back in about half a minute.
Thank you, but
want to submit your question secretly, you can put it in this box, or you can ask us. Okay.
I will try to. I'm Brazilian, so.
Okay, so let's, yes.
It's not my first language. We were in Cuba for the past 2 years, so we had a hard time, learning Spanish and English. And the kids had to learn Spanish, then to learn the English, so for them were more difficult than ever. What I noticed, for example, especially for Gustavo, that is in year 4. Now, he's able to understand, he's able to read, he's able to sound, so it's very good that he's evolving. But sometimes, for example, when we read a book together, he's reading very well, and for suddenly I just ask him, what does it mean? What is the conclusion of it? And then I realize that sometimes he does not know the word. For example, smart, some word that is very key for the student. And not being picking mom or being a teacher, for example, I will try to check everything that if he's understanding or not. It is something that I found sometimes I don't want to, to demand too much from him, and always try to check if he's really understanding it. But at the same time, he's very proud of himself that he can read. So he have the Dogman books, the Wonder Woman books. So I am trying to reinforce this, but sometimes I don't know how to check the words because he's not going to ask for help if he's not understanding some keyword in the test. Sometimes he might ask me, but I believe that he's not doing this in the classroom also, Sometimes he's losing something, he's not going to ask because he will be exposed maybe, or he'll be ashamed. And he's ADD also, so sometimes he's got distracted about the things. So it's my question is like this: how can I really understand the meaning of the words together with him without checking, all the sentences in the book with him, and not because sometimes when I do this, I feel that I am enough. I don't want to go deeper, I don't know if you understand what I mean.
Okay, so it sounds like I hear 2 questions. One is how do we choose which words to check?
To check, yeah.
But also how do we encourage the child to ask questions?
That's a question, because sometimes I don't want to, be so there that I will tell him that what he needs to do. I want him to ask for help.
Yeah.
And of course, I don't know all the words also. We are learning together.
Yeah.
So, thank you for asking, and I didn't know you were Gustavo's mom.
Yeah.
That's good to know. I'm very happy to see and meet you. And I can assure you that Gustavo is doing very well in the lesson. I'm surprised you mentioned the fact that he found it hard to learn Spanish because he speaks Spanish. I've heard him.
Yeah.
And he knows I speak Spanish. So, and he doesn't even try to use Spanish at all, even though he knows I speak. But I know sometimes that he gets a bit frustrated, like, oh, he doesn't get the word. And I go like, tell me the word in Spanish, and I can help him. But honestly, his progress is evident. But to answer the question then, it's important to choose a book that is in his level. So it means that most of the words will be known by him. And of course, there will be some, because that's the idea of reading, that there are always some challenging words. So there are several strategies as the ones we mentioned. One of them can be try to infer from the context, but that's why we need a book that is in his level. Same for all parents. If you're reading a book that is 2 levels up, it means that most of the words will be new, and then we will not be able to target all of them. And I can see, so that's one, even though there are several strategies. Of course, as EAL, we're constantly brainstorming new strategies and tackling them in the lesson. And he started asking for help, so I can tell that, because in EAL we focus not on a book, but on maybe paragraph level, sometimes even sentence level. It sounds a bit too basic, but actually a sentence level is what leads us to understand better a paragraph. So even with a sentence, I can see that he's starting to ask for help. And the point is that they feel they need help.
Yeah.
Because he might not need it. At the beginning, I saw that you mentioned you want to check comprehension of the text, and he understood the text, so that's not a problem. And later you mentioned the word, that the fact that there is an unknown word that does not mean he didn't understand the text. It just means there is one word. So there are several strategies, but yeah, I hope I answered a little bit.
Because as we just encouraging buying some books, so well, a lot of books, and as he's reading, I am checking, but I don't know the level of the book, that he has, because as we are encouraging, he just chooses by the.
I think here we know better the level, and we can mention which
Yeah, the stage. Yeah.
and then you can find books like that,
Yeah.
or just take books from the library.
Children who receive stage readers, they do bring them home, so you can see the level. They're color-coded as well. But that is separate to the books they get from the library, where they have freedom to choose whatever they want. If it has pretty pictures, they can take it home if they want. Ideally, as they visit the library more often and become more confident readers, they'll be able to choose more appropriate books for themselves. But especially in years 1 through 4, they'll get 2 separate books. Yeah.
And I think that the stage readers and the library books have different purposes. The stage readers I call like reading for work. That is pitched at their level. That's the one that's really going to help them to learn new words and the kind of mechanics of reading. And it's going to be pitched where the vocabulary is about right for them. The library could be anything. It's completely their choice, and that's reading for pleasure, reading for fun. So they could choose something like Harry Potter and end up not being able to understand very much of it. But the fact is, they're proud of themselves, they're reading, they're trying, they're developing that love, and they're aspirational. Don't stop them. They might need help for you to read with them. And I read this bit, you read that bit, let's talk about it at the end, let's summarise what we've read. You can, again, show that there's some words that you don't understand in there, and that's kind of modelling. It's okay not to know, it's okay to ask questions, it's okay to find out together. How are we going to find out? So you might say, what is this word? What does spell mean? I have no idea. Where can we find out? Should we read the context? What word would fit here? What are the characters doing? And you kind of then, you are modelling, asking lots of questions and modelling lots of strategies for him as well, so that he will do that on his own when you're not there as well. And as a last resort, if you're like, I actually have no idea what this word means, let's look it up. Let's get a dictionary, let's look it up online, and that will give us the final answer.
I'm so very sorry, but we have to teach.
Your kids are waiting for us.
Yeah. I'm so sorry if we didn't get to any of your questions.
I'm still staying here, so if there's any.
You can ask them to Mr. Mo.
You may have a class to send on you soon, I'm not sure.
Oh.
So you might not. I can't remember the timetable of the auditorium. Like a few minutes.
But yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can just.
Yeah. So thank you so much for coming. Yeah, and let us know if you have any questions in the future.
Super.
Okay.
So I'm gonna.
Thank you.
I can take care of that. Just go.
Thank you.
Go. All right. So, all right.
Do you have any more questions? No.